Hello, everybody. Welcome again to Social Problems. We're winding up the week. It's Saturday, and just a couple of reminders. Please make sure that you've completed your work by tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. That's Sunday. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I'd like to go over a little bit. I've really enjoyed reading your initial discussion posts. And I want to go over a little bit about what's necessary for the final project. Many of you or all of you I've read have some great ideas. So let's talk a little bit about our social problems, the milestones in the final project. Okay. I'll call you to attention to a couple of pages that are going to be useful for you. One, if you haven't already accessed it, is the Shapiro Library website, where you're going to find resources. The other is going to be your Citing Sources guide. Citing your sources. Let's take a look at this. Okay, you want to go over here and you want to click on APA Style Guide. This is the style guide that you need to access for this class. Okay. You've got a number of choices, and what this will do is tell you how to do it. If you've got a situation where maybe you're not experienced with citing your work, you need to cite all work, your initial discussion post, okay, moving forward from week 2 on. You'll need, and any assignments that you do, and particularly your milestones, okay. So let's go ahead and look at these milestones and the final project. Okay, let's go learning modules. Okay, start here. All right. Let's look at module 1. Okay. The final project review. Okay. If you haven't yet done this, take a little bit of time to read this. Okay? Please read through this. I'm not going to read through this with you, but it's going to ask you, it's going to direct you to really clear thinking about organizing your final project. So basically, what we have is milestones 1 and 2. Milestone 1 is due in module 3, week 3, and milestone 2 is due module 5, week 5. Okay, so and these all feed into successful completion of your final project. Okay, so let's think about your topic for a moment. Remember that we're dealing with a specific social problem. Now, I think everybody has a real excellent sociological sense of what's going on. In some cases, I've asked you in your discussion to please narrow your focus. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you've identified like racism or sexism as a social problem, you need to narrow your focus. These are pretty large constellations of social issues. Racism is not a social problem. If you've identified, for example, you say this is bad, this is a problem, there's racism. Of course, we know that, but that you're not just writing a general overview. There are hundreds of books written on this topic. Okay, so what you need to do is to narrow your focus. Now, I want to go back here to a discussion and give you an excellent example of someone who has done just that. Okay, let's see here. Hold on, let me pause and find a good example. So let me give you an excellent example of one of your classmates' articulation of a social problem. This is from Ashley Wright. She has identified a pretty specific problem, okay? And, she's grounded this in her experience, but she's talking about depression, specific issue, among African American women of color, okay? And the inequities that are there in resources, okay? So certainly, this would certainly fall under a larger rubric of racism, right? But you cannot write a paper about racism, right? You have to be as specific as Ashley is here, okay? She's been very clear. Of course, this is a topic that has to do with racial inequity, structural racism, etc. But notice what she's done here. I want to call your attention to this as a good example. I think the best examples that we can come up with are examples that we come up with from our classmates. And I think this is a good one. Okay? Women of color are the most undertreated groups of depression in the United States. So she's narrowed her focus. If you try to go racism is bad, and you try to continue, you do that as a topic, that won't work. That's not workable. You will very soon find yourself in kind of a real quandary, and not really, with a narrow focus. So my charge to you is to maybe look through Ashley's example, and there are a few other excellent examples, and narrow your focus. Notice also she's done a really great job, in providing references. Okay, so I think zeroing in, she's used that language, and I'm going to take her language, I'm going to appropriate it, and is that you need to zero in on a specific example of something. Okay, what are some other examples? Well, okay, if you write about drug addiction, yeah, that's a problem. But again, as we get into trying to come up with a functional topic that will be strong and well articulated for your first and second milestones, right? You're going to need to narrow your focus, as Ashley Bright has here. Okay, it's a great example of what I like to see, and what we like to see in general. In terms of the articulation of a social problem. Why? The other reason is there are actionable steps. We could talk of providing supplemental resources and access to communities for women of color in terms of mental health. There are actionable points, and that's one of the things that your social problems, your milestones in your final paper will call for is, hey, what action is this actionable, right? And it also allows for the scaffolding of a theoretical consideration. I mean, we could look at this in terms of social conflict theory, and inequality. And for any number of reasons, this is a really excellent example of a topic. Most of you have done great work, so far in articulating a topic, and I look forward to working with you further. So as we move on into our subsequent modules, please keep this in mind, and let's all move forward together. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we will see you in Module 2.